Hi guys, this is Beth Pitman and this is my first desk crit for 8190. I want to talk about my research interest with BYOT schools and the idea of digital culture and what I think I want to design to help me with this research. So what interests me? When I taught, I found that I taught in a BYOT school, or a Bring Your Own Technology school. And when I'd walk down the halls, I would see signs like these on the doors: no phone zones, no cell phones in class. And I even had the horror of seeing one of these contraptions here where students would have to place their devices inside one of the clear pouches before they could enter the classroom. I found this really, really confusing because the whole idea of a bring your own device school or bring your own technology school is that students would then use their devices in the classroom for instruction. They're incredibly powerful, but teachers find them to be just distractions to students and difficult for students to learn with inside the classroom. And I find this really interesting in how that type of mentality develops among teachers and why teachers are that way and view them that way, and then why students allow them to be distractions, and how can we create a balance with the distraction that the device provides along with the power that it provides as far as instruction in the classroom. It's a really interesting idea there. So with that in mind, I started thinking a little bit further about what my interest is. And so then I started thinking about culture. There's this idea of culture that goes along with BYOT. And I think that if students are using their devices in every classroom in a productive way, a culture then develops inside the school that certain behaviors are acceptable with the phones and certain behaviors are not acceptable. I also think that inadvertently other cultures can develop if the devices aren't managed correctly. And so then I started thinking about what is culture. And this idea that behaviors and characteristics of a certain social, ethnic, or age group is the definitions of culture. And I believe that the way teachers behave with their digital devices and the devices of the school then affect how students behave with those devices, because students watch teachers use them, and then in ways that develops, that idea of digital culture develops from that of a teacher. And so I want to see how this relationship affects the culture and integration in a BYOT school. So where does this idea come from? So, for example, this is my former principal here, and this picture was taken by a student and tweeted. But the tweet is something like, "This is what our new principal does." And you can see that he's just sitting there in the gym during a school function on his phone. And this was something that was frequent, and a lot of times I didn't think about this, but I have to wonder how behaviors like this from teachers or school administrators affect how students view their devices and how students view they should use their devices in schools. And so this kind of spurred my thought in studying teacher behaviors with phones, with devices, and with school equipment, and how that might then affect how students view what they should do with their devices and how they should use them in the classroom. So this is a very interesting photo, and sadly you could see him doing this frequently during the school day out in the halls, and he's not the only teacher at my former school that would do this. So, I want to study how teachers interact with the device in school, whether it be their personal or school devices. I want to look for certain behaviors and observe how frequently the behavior occurs. And I then want to take that data and compare it with how students behave with their devices and school devices, so that I can maybe see if there's a correlation and if that what kids are seeing teachers and adults in the building do shapes what they do with their devices and how they learn with their devices. So that's what I'm interested in. So what am I going to design? Is there an app for that? I would like to create an app that would allow me to check every time I observed a specific behavior in the school. And then the app would populate the data into a form, probably an Excel spreadsheet, that then I can manipulate and use the data how I see fit. I'd also like this app to somehow evolve into a way for students and teachers to use to self-assess their own device usage or their own relationship with devices, so that we could take that, what they're actually doing with the device and what they think they're doing with the device, and then that data could then be compared and be useful to study. So, what do I want to do? This is what I think it might look like. Something very basic. And so like you would enter in the date of the observation and the time of the observation, and then there would be a list of behaviors, and then you could just press the button when you see the behavior, and then on the back end it would tick off how many times that behavior occurred within a certain time period. And this chart would just stay on the app, and you could just press it, and then it would populate on the back end. I could see this developing to be more complex, where students actually use this, or teachers actually use this app to really self-assess or to think about how many times, and become maybe a survey type application. This is very basic at this point in what I want to do. I'm not exactly sure what tool I'm going to use to build this in, but I think that this would be useful as I'm starting to collect my data and thinking about culture and behavior with culture. So this is my very basic idea at first, and why I have that idea, and I look forward to your feedback.